Creative Writing Advice with me, JJ Barnes. If you don't know me, I am the author of How to Write a Story. I also have other books out, as well as a film and a television show in production. And I'm over here on YouTube bringing you the writing advice that I have found helpful during my career, things that have helped improve my stories, make me more successful, and I'm hoping to bring them to you in little bite-sized chunks, things that can help you make you a better and more confident writer, and hopefully, improve your experience of this thing that we love so much in writing and storytelling. So today I'm going to be doing a video that was actually suggested to me by one of the watchers here on YouTube, Ridderin. Hello! And I'm going to be talking about how to write a script as an author. So when you write books, as I started out and still do, and it is a true passion of mine, you are having a slightly different experience than when you are writing a script. So what I'm going to do is talk over a few basic points, things that are worth remembering and worth noting. Because if you want to make the transition from writing books to writing films or television, and maybe your experience and training is in books specifically, there are things that will have to change about how you tell your stories if you want to write them in script style. So number one, you are going to have to be prepared for rewrites, and they will be rewrites not based on what you as the writer want. Now, if you're going a completely independent production, so for instance, when we made Hollowhead, I wrote that with my writing partner, and we made it, we filmed it, we directed it, everything. So all the decisions about that script were ours. However, if you are having your work produced by an outsider, a production company, you are going to have notes come back. Now, these notes will be about things that you as a writer might not have considered. There might be requirements for certain actors on screen. There might be issues with budget and you have to move location. There might be issues with booking locations and you have to just do it a completely different way. You are going to have to adapt your story based on what other people want. And whilst filming, you might have to do on-set rewrites according to issues with props, availability, actors who can't get certain lines out in certain ways and it has to be changed to accommodate them. Your story will have to change for other people. And your job as a writer is just to put your ego aside and be like, it's not all about me, because this is a bit of teamwork. A script is a document that is going to be used by other people. You are not in full control of it. Now, when you write your book, you're going to get notes back from editors and proofreaders and beta readers, everything like that. And there will be things that you end up changing about your story as well. And you're used to that. But when it's a script, there are a lot more people and a lot more players involved with that story. So you have to accept it. Your job as a screenwriter is to work with other people, and therefore sometimes what they want or require from you as the writer of this story is to do something different than you'd wanted to do, and you just have to kind of accept and work with that. But it can be challenging because you're a writer who's passionate about story, and sometimes they're passionate about other things, and you've got to find a way to work together. So that's point number one for me. Point number two, your script is a working document, okay? It is not your story, because your story is going to be presented on screen and will involve other work. It will have props, costumes, lighting, actors making decisions, directors making choices, and your document that you are going to be presenting to them is to be used. That means you are not putting in loads of environment, you are not putting in loads of moods and feelings. It is to be read and worked. You don't need it to be entertaining. Now, you can put entertaining notes in about characters and about how people are feeling and what they're doing, but these are notes, they are not acres of description that you are used to doing. The show don't tell with a script is often done by people not you. Now, you can do it bits, as I say, and give it some personality, and personality in writing is always good. But this document that you are presenting to the team who will be making this film is to be used for work. It's going to get written on, it is to be read efficiently and quickly so people can understand what is going on. What you are doing with it is not making a beautiful, poetic piece of art. Your script is to work. Another thing, now this is something that I had to learn because I did it wrong. Basically, I did it wrong. In a book, your scene is based on the action between the characters, what they're saying, what they're doing, what they're thinking, what they're feeling. And that is a scene. Now that scene can be traveling between different rooms, it can be moving about in a place, and it's still one scene. You won't scene break just because they go into a different space. However, when you are filming, a scene ends the moment they step out of a room and into another one. Even if somebody is just stepping out of that room to pick something up from that room and going back into that room again, you will have to do a separate scene. Because if you think about it, every time you enter a different room, that room needs to be lit. The props need to be checked. Everything needs to be laid out accordingly, and the camera needs to be put in a different place. Your scene is for working a film. It is not for the story. So that is really important as well. Another thing I will say, you have to remember to scene number. You have to put numbers on your pages, on your scenes, bump, 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 because otherwise it's going to be very hard when people are like, what scene are we filming today? And you haven't numbered them. You have to have, you can say, we're on page 13, scene 4. And they can go to it and work it out. It will mean planning it is easier. You can work out what you're doing. Everybody involved can look at a big board and see page number, scene number, go straight to it. They don't want to think about what's happening in the story at that moment because that's not their job. They need to work out what costumes they are doing for that scene, for that bit of filming. That is what they're focused on, not what's happening in the actual story. So you need to make it as easy as possible for them. Scene numbers, page numbers, and then everybody in the scene has to be put in the first paragraph. As soon as you start writing that scene, list the characters who are in the scene. And anybody who enters, make sure you've listed anybody who enters at that moment, because that is not, again, that's not for your story. That is for the people who are working that document, and they need to be able to do call lists. Who has got to be on set that day? What costumes have to be available? How many makeup people need to be available for the actors that are going to be in? How long is it going to take to shoot? That is all the things that working document has to be able to give people immediately. They don't want to have to read through it every time they start a scene and work out, oh, who's speaking, who is silently standing by. No, you have to put every single character present at the beginning. So now we're on to scene length, because this is really important, because scenes can take a long time to film, especially if you've got lots of characters in them and lots of angles that have to get sharp. So your scenes, a 3-page scene is a long scene. If you start going into 4, 5, 6 pages, you're starting to get into a really massive scene. It might not take very long on screen, but the making of it is going to be very difficult. And that is something that your job is to consider. When you're writing a book, your scenes can effectively be any length because all you're doing is writing. Now, it might affect the reading of it, and you might prefer to do some choppy short scenes, some longer scenes, and mix it up like that for the entertainment of your reader, but it doesn't actually affect them. They can put the book down at any point that they want to. But with a film or a TV show, if your scene is too long, it's going to be very, very difficult and complicated to film, and it might have to be split over multiple days. And when you're trying to film a single scene over multiple days because it's so long, it gets complicated for your continuity, for making sure everybody's available. It is hard. So you want to try and make sure your scenes are workable and filmable. Now, obviously, sometimes you're going to have longer scenes and it might take multiple days. But if all of your scenes are very complicated and take a long time to film, you're not going to be very popular and you're probably not going to get produced, because everybody needs to be able to work. And the job is about more than just you. So you have to be willing to work with other people and their limitations as well. So that is something really important to consider. When you're writing, imagine that 1 page is 1 minute on screen. If you're doing a particularly fast-paced script, think of Aaron Sorkin or Amy Sherman-Palladino. Their times do not match that because they get many more words in and there's a lot of dialogue. But for the standard, imagine 1 page per 1 minute on screen. And that will just help you start working out how long you're going to be spending in any area. Now, a lot of the choices that you would want to make as a writer are going to be made by other people. And some actors do not like being told the way to say their lines by the writer. So you might put your character name and then in brackets, Moody, and then the line. If the director or the actor doesn't like that choice, they might ignore it. And you have to either fight for it and explain why it matters, or let it go, because the delivery of the lines and the story isn't up to you. Your job is to write it. After that, you're gonna kind of have to let it go. Now, as I say, if you're an indie filmmaker and you're doing what we have done with our latest thing, which is take full control over everything, then yes, those choices are yours, and you can put as many notes in the script about how to perform things as you want, because you're going to be the one who enforces that with the actors. However, if you are not, if you are just having your work produced, you might find that some actors and directors actually resent having those actorial notes put in, because they are in charge of that, not you. And that is something that, if you're like me and a bit of a control freak and have a very clear picture of how your characters should say things and the mood they should be in and the way things should be done, it can be difficult to let go because it looked different in your head. But it's not going to necessarily look how it looks in your head. It's going to look, hopefully, how it looks in the director's head, because that's their job. The director is there to make the screen look how they think it should look based on your story. And yet, again, letting that go can be difficult, because I come from books where I don't see if other people see it wrong. I don't. I see it how it looks in my head. I write it as clearly as I can so that it looks right in other people's heads, and if they see it differently, doesn't affect me at all. As long as they enjoy the story, it's fine. But when you're seeing your work brought to life, as well as being an immense privilege and incredibly exciting, you will have to accept that other people will see things differently to you, and their job is to put on screen what they see, not what you see. And that can be hard. Now, in terms of the story, you have to remember that you cannot go on for as long as a book. I recommend you plan, because you cannot go on for too long. You can't be making a 4-hour movie. And the temptation could be there because you've got so much you want to include, but you have to be more strict with your time. So I recommend planning it. I recommend working out who your characters are, working out your midpoint, working out your end of Act 1. I recommend working out your climax and timing it accordingly. If one script page is 1 minute on screen, you want to start working out how long your film is going to be in advance and then plotting accordingly. If you are making a 2-hour movie, then your midpoint needs to be about the 1 hour, which means it needs to be about 60 pages in. Work it out like that, because if you make it a massive, massive film that can never be made because it's just too long, what's the point? Or you'll end up having to cut so much out of it that you might end up, your story doesn't make any sense anymore. And this has happened, and you know it has happened because you've seen films where things suddenly aren't right and things have changed and you missed it. They probably made perfect sense in the script and it was all written down and they filmed it all, but you have only got so many minutes you can use on screen and they're going to chop stuff. And if you don't want your work chopped out because the story won't make sense, you have to make it so they can film and use things, otherwise they will slice it and dice it. And again, that will be an editor's and a director's choice, not yours, and you will not get a say about what they lose. So think about it. Be careful with your planning. Plan it out so that you get everything in your story as it needs to be, otherwise things will get lost. Now, in terms of the content of your story, that will be the same for these videos that I'm releasing, whether you're writing a book or a film. The story structure, that is all covered. I've done characterization, I've done ways of delivering information, and that pretty much, for most things, is transferable. So if you're watching my video on conflict in story, that will be true of book, film, TV, it doesn't matter. So these videos are pretty much, relatable to both, but scripts are a different thing, films are a different thing, and being prepared for learning those changes is important, because I had to learn on the job, loved it, loved every minute of learning on the job, but it did pose some problems for filming because there was things I didn't know, and it meant that my job was made harder and other people's jobs were made harder because I hadn't planned my script according to what a script should be. I'd done it more based on what a book should be. So hopefully these lessons will help you, and if you do get the opportunity to have your work filmed, either making it indie or getting it produced, don't be put off having your work produced because other people make choices. It's an incredible experience, and if you can open yourself up and welcome what other people see in their heads when they read your work, it can be incredible. And it might look different, but if you can let it go, and if you can just embrace the fact that your story is going to be lived and seen and experienced, it's magical. And hearing people say the words that your characters are saying that you've only ever heard in your head before, because with books, you only hear it in your head, and you might hear it really clearly and you might see it really clearly, but that's where it lives. And seeing the thing that's in your head brought to life by talented actors and people who are passionate about getting your story out into the world visually, it's magic. I can't recommend it enough. So if you are interested in transitioning from author to screenwriter, as I say, I have done that transition, but I've not left author behind, because there are so many reasons writing books is a phenomenal thing to do, and I will never not want to do that. But being able to do both is just an incredible privilege and something I love with all my heart. So yeah, I would recommend you try and write scripts for fun as you do with books. Like, write because you love it. Write your scripts, write your stories, and then see what happens. Push for it, because yeah, I love it, and I think you would love it too. So I'm hoping we can do that. Get some more scripts out into the world as well. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it has been helpful. If you want me to cover any more script specific things that will help make you more confident and comfortable putting your story into that form, ask me, because I've covered some, the things that stand out to me as what I would have wanted to know. There are things other people might specifically want to know about scripts over books, and let me know, because I will do my best to cover them. I want to be able to help you. So yeah, let me know and I will do my best. I'm bringing a video out every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 9:30 in the morning. So subscribe to this and put on the little notification thing and you'll get an alert when it comes out. There's also quite a big back catalogue on here. Some of the videos are me on my own, some are with my writing partner Jonathan, and we are talking storycraft, writing, just everything hopefully you could possibly want to know. There's also videos and behind the scenes stuff and information about my film that, as I say, is in production and we are editing it right now. Yeah, so come find me. So yeah, comment what you want to know, subscribe. Oh, go to my website, it's jjbarnes.co.uk. Over there you will find links to my books, all of these things I'm talking about with filming, all my social media as well. So come and chat to me over there, because I love talking about writing, and the writing community is somewhere really special that I really do love. So yeah, come find me, and yeah, I'll talk to you again soon. Thank you very much. Bye.